Welcome back to the Comic Book ASM Artist. So today we're going to be doing another comic book haul. But with today's haul, we're going to start with a bunch of graphic novels and stuff that I got, and then move on into the single issues. So first of all, I got a couple things at half-price books this week. I found this. I used to have this when I was a kid, although it technically wasn't mine. My oldest brother got it when it came out in 1990, but this is a Batman comic that's in 3D. It's illustrated by John Byrne. And yeah, as a kid, I just remember going through this thing and being really impressed with all the very over-the-top things to force the 3D perspective and stuff, and just really being impressed by it, you know. I'm tempted to do a video with it where if you all have your own pair of 3D glasses, you can put them on and the illustrations would be in 3D for you if you had your own pair of 3D glasses. But I don't know. So it includes this story by John Byrne here, and then in the back, well, it's also got a bunch of these really cool pin-ups from a lot of highly notable artists, as you can see. And these were really super impressive with the glasses on. And then there's an old Batman story in here too, which was, I guess, an original 3D book that they put out way back in the day. I think it says 1953. So yeah. And then I believe it said somewhere on this I read that Joe Kubert actually helped pioneer 3D in comics. Let's see, which I never knew that. Yeah, right here. Joe Kubert and Norman Maurer invented a method for producing three-dimensional comics. Yeah, I know Joe Kubert for sure, but I never knew he was involved with making 3D comics too, so that's really neat. And then another item I got that came out right along the same time is the official movie book about Batman, the 1989 one, which of course, as you all know, highly inspirational for me. So it has a lot of like pictures and stuff that they've shown on the trading cards before, but then it's got just other notes and side stories from. So it just kind of gives you a nice peek at being on the set of the 1989 Batman movie. Which I remember it wasn't until recently I learned that I think it was filmed in London, if I remember correctly. Which I never knew. And then I'm sure, as most of you know, most of the city and all that was built on a sound stage, and a lot of it was miniaturized and stuff. So like, here's a picture of them all together, and we see Batman. He doesn't even have his emblem on here. So I'm not sure if that was to alleviate pressure of the cowl when he was wearing it, or I'm not sure. And then it talks about Tim Burton and stuff here, and this was them off to the side photographing him while he was directing, just kind of likening him to just having this childlike wonder yet being a serious director at the same time. So nice little glimpse at his character there. I would definitely like to do a full video on this book. It's not super long either. It's just under 100 pages. But yeah, it's just really insightful and interesting. And real quick, I do want to show So yeah, it has like some of the concept art and stuff in there as well. And I remember they had one of the trading cards. It was in like the bonus set if you got the full complete set together, like in the box or whatever. I think it had those as they were like 10 additional cards, and that was one of them. So yeah, just lots of interesting stuff here. And next at my main shop, I found something that isn't the typical thing that I buy, but I thought it sounded interesting. So this is a book. It is called Brother, as you can see, a story of autism. And you all might not know, but there's quite a few people in my life who have autism, as well as, I believe, me personally, I think I have undiagnosed autism, because there's certain symptoms and signs that are things that people look for in it, and I think I'm on the higher end of it. There's, it's a spectrum. There's a high and a low end, so higher being more functioning and then lower not so much. But this is a true story written by these siblings here. The brother has autism and the sister does not. But this is just basically their story growing up here. And he's nonverbal. His name is Carlton. Her name is Bridget here. And I actually already read this full book. So it says it's by Carlton Hudgens, as told by Bridget Hudgens. But yeah, as I said, Carlton is nonverbal, so I'm not sure how he went about writing it, if he did write it, or that was just something to help them sell the book, maybe. I'm not sure. But it was definitely a very good book. It had a lot of really tender moments in it. I did get emotional for a few spots reading it. A couple just really surprising moments too. Like I've said, I've had a lot of people in my life who have had it, as well as, like I said, I believe, me personally, just not officially, but I kind of remember when I was a kid, my parents were concerned about certain things, but they never took it the steps further by getting like a full evaluation or anything like that. But so yeah, this just talks about growing up with a sibling who has autism, and there are instances where the brother just did some really surprising things, such as he actually saved his sister from drowning at one point. Trying to find it's right here. So yeah, this is the instance here where it talks about that. And yeah, it's just really interesting. It's a very human story. And I do recommend it. Like I said, relatively short too. I think it's around 80 pages. And then in the back it shows like some pictures of their time together and stuff as well, and other things in here too. And then there's even I guess they use these in school too, so there's you can print out curriculum and stuff to go with it. There's other books from this company that deal with more topical things as well. Here's some of them here. So this is some interesting stuff, but like I said, this one in particular stood out to me because it dealt with autism, and that's something that is a daily thing for me. So interesting to see it in a comic. So their book here, this was actually half price at my comic shop. I've already read this before, but I didn't own it personally. I think I checked it out from the library back in the day. When I started buying Batman and Robin was actually the issue right after this one here. That was whenever the Joker returned to the DC universe. So this one deals with basically people who have had this deals with people who have had run-ins with Batman in the past. And as you all know, Batman doesn't kill, but there are instances where he has, been crime fighting and just kind of taken things a little extreme. So we see people who have are more or less survivors of fighting Batman, but they're survivors in a horrific way. We see burn victim type people, and there's one of them who's got Batman's boot print in his face or stuff, and just different weird, really bizarre things. But this is done by Patrick Gleason. Like I've said before, he's one of my newer favorite talents. His work on this series, as well as the Superman stuff he did, both with it's the team of Tomasi and Gleason together. Highly recommend all their stuff, so if you haven't checked it out, I really recommend it. And then, as I said previously, I finally got in a ton of the other Doug TenNapel stuff that I mentioned. And so, everything I've read here with the exception of this, because this just came today, and I had the second part, but I need to read the first part beforehand. But so this one was actually Doug's first work he did here. This is called Gear. And you can tell just the style here. We don't have full line work. There's bits where there's positive and negative space. And this book was initially put out in black and white. So all these spaces where they've colored in here, this was all just not connected prior. But he's had the same colorist through all this. I believe this is even Catherine Garner as well. But this is the 20th anniversary edition, so it has some extra stuff in it. Yeah, she colored it. So she's really the main colorist that Doug goes to for his work. And there's some extras in the back. And then we see Mike Mignola art there. I don't know this person here. I believe that's a person who does the, what is it, Scud or Scrub, or I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. It's an independent book. There's some more concept stuff there too. And these characters in this book is who they went on to make the series Cat Scratch for Nickelodeon. But I've never seen that, so I don't know them from that. But yeah, this was just really fun to see kind of where it all started for Doug's art, for making a full story. And I believe this was right after it. This is Creature Tech. And this one's definitely a lot more bizarre. We see a lot more dealings with afterlife discussion and stuff, with actual them bringing up the church and stuff like that, or basically this guy isn't a believer, but his dad is a preacher at a church, I believe, and basically they shun him in the church because he's got this creature thing stuck to him, and just another really interesting book. But you can definitely see a progression from this, even from Gear, where it's come. And this is the special version of this book too, the 20th or whatever you want to call it. And so there's some stuff at the back here too. Yeah, so that was called Scud. So he did one in here too, Rob Schrab. So this is by Eric Powell here. A few more. This one's Scotty Young here. This is Mahfood, I believe. Yeah, Jim Mahfood. stuff. I think this one might be Ethan Nicole, maybe. I think so. He did Axe Cop. So there's a nice big eel for you there. And then this one here. This one he did originally as a web comic, and then he just continued it being on the web and collected as a book for incentive for people to buy. You know, if it's free, they're more likely going to try to read it online than to buy the book form of it. So this is the whole webcomic collected into a book. And I do like that this is like the normal comic size. All the other ones are kind of smaller like that. So, but there's a lot of fun moments in here. I liked Catherine's coloring a lot in this one more. It seems more painted, I guess. And we see more just kind of bizarre stuff here. There's a couple real fun moments. We see he actually meets Earthworm Jim, and it's like a prolonged scene too. I think it's maybe 10 or so pages long of him with Earthworm Jim. And then they did a spoof on Spider-Man called Miter Spam here. So this one has a lot of random humor in it and things like that, but it deals with the topic of cancer on the side as well. So kind of interesting, because you wouldn't expect for something like that to be brought up in a book like this. And then there's Ghostopolis, which is about basically this boy gets brought into Ghostopolis by accident by a guy who's trying to catch this creature with kind of a protoplasm type of thing. It's basically like a pair of handcuffs, and he hits a button and then it sends them here. So he hits it while the thing runs through the wall, and this kid is sitting on his bed, I believe, and just kind of snaps him up and he gets transported there. But out of all of those, this is probably my favorite one, probably mainly because it's longer. The longer ones I tend to enjoy more, just because, you know, it's meatier. But this was a really sweet story too, because basically he gets to meet his grandfather, even though he's a kid, and as the grandfather matures more in character, he becomes like visibly older in the story. So just really neat. I'm trying to find when the transport happens here. Yeah, right here. See, he's trying to get the creature here, and then he hits the button. And then he goes. Book is about just appreciating the time you have with people, because you never know how long you have with anyone. You don't know how much time you have, so just enjoy the time you have with people, and to appreciate wisdom as it's passed on and things like that. And there's other elements of it I don't want to go into. I encourage you all to pick up all these books that I show off, and you can all be pleasantly surprised, because Doug's a great storyteller. But and then this is Newts. I haven't read it yet. It was a 3-part miniseries, and they're all around this size. And I don't know anything about it, so I just know it's a lot of little fun-looking creatures, and I'm assuming these guys escape the reach of these characters here and find a new life, since it's called Escape from the Lizarks. So, but like I said, I haven't read this one yet, but I will soon. So with that, I can move on to the single issues here. So we have Spider-Man number 37. And this is after all the Spider-Man 2099 stuff. The art was good, but I didn't really understand what was going on in the story at all times, so. And so I really don't know even what brought, Peter to this area here. So. But we definitely see some strange-looking creatures here interacting. And we see JJ doing his radio show here. And I know I read something in the previews about the whole Spider-Man and JJ relationship being in the spotlight again for this particular arc, so we'll see how that goes. And then there's 36. This is the last part, I guess, of the 2099. Really like the webbing on the cover there. That's pretty neat looking. So we see Doctor Doom really tearing into Spider-Man here. And yeah, that's really the only thing I can say about it, really. I haven't read any of these books I'm about to show you, so not sure. And I noticed Gleason wasn't on either of these, so that's interesting too. They haven't given him like a full run, really. I wonder if he's still. I know when he got hired on, he was still doing a lot of practice drawings of Spider-Man with like the intricate detail on his suit and stuff. So maybe he's getting tripped up on that where it's taking him too much time. I don't know. Next we have Immortal Hulk number 29. And apparently this took a turn that's different than what has been going on. This is dealing with like financial stuff, I guess, with the Roxxon Corporation here. Because the previous Hulk stuff through like issue 25 was pretty much understood of Hulk journeying to hell for the most part, and just encountering all sorts of disturbing things and subduing pretty much everything he came into contact with. So, but I've got these stacked in their in the correct reading order, but that's upside down here, so we maintain the mystery. So that means that I'm going to end up pulling the previous issue for this too. So yeah, this is Immortal Hulk number 28. So we see like some Hulk activists on the cover, I believe. And we're not seeing the normal interior artist here either. So that begs the question, is it throughout the whole book like that? Let me check. Okay, it's between two artists here. So there's like some thinner line work here. And then some thicker stuff here. So these are two different artists. It's probably like a POV story. I've seen him do that early on in the Hulk run too. Next is King Thor number 4. This wraps up Jason Aaron's run on Thor. I have heard a lot of good things about Donny Cates' relaunch number 1 of Thor, but I picked this just as a simple jumping off point, even though I'm sure Cates will do a good job with the character. And I've heard some interesting things about what has already happened in the first issue, so if you're not on Thor, probably a good jumping on point. But for me, this was just kind of a perfect way to round it out, since their initial arc together, Saba Ribic and Jason Aaron's initial run on Thor, was what got me to pick up the book for the first time in a long time, several years ago. So as I was waiting for some noise to pass, I did flip through this some more, and there are bunches of other art pages in here. So it is not just the Saba Ribic who does the art in this. So there's a bunch of different artists in here as well. I don't want to show too much of those because I don't want it to spoil the contents of the book, rather than just plucking out a few pages. But there is a bunch of different art styles in here, so I encourage you to check that out if you are interested. It seems like it's a lot of people who have worked with Jason Aaron in the past were given a page or so to work in here, so I think that's what they did. And we have, this is SpiderMan number 3. This is the J.J. Abrams in Son. And so this is an interesting take on the character too, that I wasn't expecting. Because if I remember, it's basically Peter Parker's kid. Yeah, he takes up the mantle of Spider-Man. And at this point, Peter Parker has one hand. See, he's got a hook hand here. So, just kind of a different, weird, what-if story. So, it's pretty interesting. But, not what I was expecting. Then we have Spider-Man Velocity, number 5. And this wraps up this particular arc. The next one is the Black Cat story, which I believe will just follow the DLC from the game. That's a cool shot with the clouds there. But I haven't played the DLC for that game, so it might actually be some new footage for me. But what's going on currently in this book? This velocity suit makes Spider-Man move extra fast, so he's actually way ahead of everyone else in terms of speed, where he's so fast he can't even like talk to anyone else. He's kind of isolated in this speed realm type of thing. In this character here, he's trying to stop her from behaving in a destructive way that's been being harmful in the past issues. And we have Ironman number 19. believe that this is the conclusion to the Ultron agenda. And I will be hopping off of this book after this one too. The next story is Ironman 2020. I believe it's a 4-part miniseries. And then they will renumber Ironman, I believe. So this is just a nice way to close out what's been going on currently. And I am very interested in this design of Ultron with the half Hank Pym side there and stuff. And they've done some pretty interesting things in this, in these last couple issues anyway. The arc before I felt kind of dragged out. And I think that's the main thing that kind of hurt this series. You know, they spent too much time on that one particular arc with like the virtual world with him fighting and stuff, and it just went on too long. So, but this, I believe this is maybe the 4th part, and you know, that seems about right for a modern comic. 4 to 6 issues max with the same villain, I would say, should be sufficient, not really dragging it out past that. Next we have XMen number 4. We see the leaders here, very sharp in their suits. I gotta say though, I think it was the previous issue I wasn't that impressed with. They had like these elderly botanists fighting the X-Men. I thought that was really weird. So I wasn't too crazy about that. I refuse to believe a bunch of elderly people can best the X-Men, you know. But we'll see what happens, I guess. This one doesn't seem like there's much action, at least in the start of it anyway, either. See a lot of talking. Yeah, I flipped through it. It seems pretty heavy on just dialogue. And I think maybe that is, I saw Hickman saying, like, he didn't care, like, the pushback on this issue, I guess. So maybe that's what the criticism was. There was too much talking, maybe. But if it's well written, though, that's the main question, right? Alright, now we are on to the box. First we have Turtles 101. This is done by Sophie Campbell. She is my second favorite modern Turtles artist, behind Sanluco. So I'm glad to see that she's back into it. She usually doesn't stay on a book long, but what she does do, she does good work on the book. So look forward to that, and I believe she was instrumental in creating the 5th Ninja Turtle, Jennika. But yeah, she just has a nice kind of personality and warmth that she brings to the turtles' faces here. They're rounded and innocent, but then, you know, they can be tough when they need to be as well. Then we have Action Comics number 1018. Nice cardstock cover here. And I mentioned this before. If you want to see what's going on here, go read the last few issues of Justice League. I read this one. I think it's Justice League either 38 or 39, something like that. And the fight between Lex and Superman is just so satisfying. Just a lot of over-the-top drama. Seems very much very Dragon Ball Z reminiscent to me. So I really enjoyed it. I wasn't able to pick it up. I think I'm probably going to wait until I have a trade that collects the last part. Probably just get wrapped up into buying the full Justice League Snyder arc just because I do like Scott Snyder, but I think they were releasing that Justice League book once a month or once a week or something like that, and I just couldn't commit to that. Next we have Urban Legends number 20. And they are almost at the point now where the original series ended. And we're going to see some brand new issues to wrap up the story. So it's just been really weird. It's a huge what if story. Very dark, grim, over the top. I would say not like any other turtle story you'll ever read. There certainly are a few surprising moments in it. I think I have enjoyed the story side of it more than the artwork side of it, though. And then when I was catching up, I realized that I was missing number 17 from my collection, so same type of art inside. In this one, we see Leatherhead in here. And we see Raphael casting off the Shredder armor that he had donned for the previous 5 or so issues, where he was leading a very small group of the remaining Foot Clan soldiers to fight. Next we have Detective Comics number 1018. I think this is a Two-Face story, but I'm not sure. Maybe not. I think I remember reading something. This is kind of a little bit like a winter/Christmas issue. See lots of snow and stuff here. So yeah, this one was timed just a little bit too late. I believe it came out like right after or right on New Year's Day. So what's the name of it? Yeah, this is a Christmas story here. And it's multiple parts, so that seems kind of weird. They must have gotten slightly off on their scheduling, I would say. Next we have the Terrifics number 23. And I was actually wrong. They are not wrapping the Terrifics on issue number 25. But 25 will be the last one I buy. Officially through with the book, so I've just been kind of buying the last few to round out the series, But who knows how long it's gonna keep going. and it's been entertaining, but I've just kind of lost interest in it, I'm trying to have a little bit more on the side to do more things for the channel than just comic book hauls, even though those are the most popular and they will continue. I just like to be able to do other things too for it. So then we have the Turtles Power Rangers #2, and I was glad once again that I got the helmet variant here. And I really just enjoy how bright and kinetic the art is in these. Very minimalistic in the actual lines. It's more about the color highlights than like deep blacks or anything like that. So I'm really enjoying that. And I think the art in this is what the art typically looks like for the Power Rangers book, but I don't buy that regularly, so I'm not sure. Next we have Batman #86. This starts James Tynion the Fourth's run on Batman. So brand new writer. He did the Detective Comics run for Rebirth when it started, and I highly recommend that. If you haven't read it, it was about the entire Bat family. And Clayface in there is working on Batman's side, and that was really interesting. So check that out if you haven't. And yeah, we see Tony S. Daniel continuing to provide the quality work he does. And it'll be fun to see what direction the series goes in. And then that's the normal cover for it. Just because I like Tony S. Daniel's art. Whenever there's an artist who does a regular cover, I'll usually try to pick that up too if it's one I like. But I will typically go for the variants because they're more artistic, without all the trade dress on there. I wonder when they'll start to put like the actual this stuff, or at least this on the back. So you'll just literally have like the series up there. So this is Young Justice #12. And this is another one that I've just kind of gotten burnout on. I do like Young Justice. I loved Todd Knock in Peter David's run. But this unfortunately is not evoking the same feelings. Which I understand, it's a new beast. But it's just one of those things. It's like, okay, it's not gonna be the same magic. But we see some weird things. This guy almost looks like Thor here. So we see Superboy just pretty much in a savage land type situation here. And then we see Tim Drake is going by Drake now and is all brown. And Naomi is part of the team now. So, but Impulse was always my favorite character from the original Young Justice, so. And he hasn't been getting a lot of attention in this book, so hopefully they'll rectify that soon. But that's going to do it. I've got way too many books scattered on my bed now to gather them back up. But yeah, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see. Share this out so we can continue to grow the channel to do big things. Got some more developments coming on, so hopefully I'll be able to make more unique content. But yeah, I am thankful for you guys stopping by at least once a week here. Hopefully we'll be able to do some more. But you all have a super slumber. Thanks. Bye.